Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez was slammed by Israel's Foreign Minister Cohen on Saturday over his public support for the protest movement against the judicial overhaul. In a video message screened at the main anti-government rally in Tel Aviv Saturday, Sanchez said, "Socialist International movement stands in solidarity with the people of Israel. Dear friends, you will always find us in the fight for democracy," he added. Israel's Foreign Minister Cohen hit back at the message, but stopped short criticizing Sanchez directly. He wrote, "For the opponents of the reforms, there are no red lines, including the attempt to compromise Israel's international status. No foreign entity will decide for the Israeli public." And joining me now in studio is former Israeli ambassador to France, Daniel Sheck. Ambassador, always a pleasure having you here in studio with me. I want to ask you, according to reports, Likud is now reportedly refusing to negotiate with the opposition Yesh Atid party, instead only with the National Unity Party leader Benny Gantz. What hopes does that leave for any chance of a deal being made?
Well, to be honest, hopes weren't great before that. I don't know how tactical this is right now. They're trying to separate the opposition leaders between, and there are differences in the approach of Benny Gantz and Yair Lapid, the two main negotiators. Right. I remind you that the Israeli Labour Party leader Merav Michaeli already left these negotiations.
Right at the beginning of the negotiations.
A couple of weeks ago. She felt that this is going nowhere, and the main issue is that even in if a miracle happened and they do reach an agreement, there is a third party to this issue which is not represented in the president's residence, and that is the protest, the street. The organizations, as far as they exist, and the people on the streets don't necessarily feel themselves represented by Benny Gantz or others. So it remains to be seen that even if they do reach an agreement, will the street protesters accept it?
Right. Well, it's like you said, it seems that both parties on the street, whether it be pro-overhaul or anti-overhaul, are not open to any negotiations whatsoever, whereas the negotiating political factions do seem to be alluding to that. And we saw that actually at the pro-government protests on Thursday. We saw Justice Minister Levine acknowledge some sort of compromise could be made. Is that a sign that the coalition is a little bit more flexible now and willing to make a compromise?
I don't know. It might be. He also said very harsh words about the need to push forward, and we will not be sidetracked from our objectives, etc., etc. So it might be that it's not only the street that is a problem, but even inside the political parties. Certainly in the opposition, you already see that there are differences. But even on the side of the government, I believe that the negotiators, and directly or indirectly the Prime Minister, might also be under pressure from more extremist factions or parts of his own coalition. And I mean his coalition partners, but also within his own party, people like Yariv Levin, for example.
And also pressure from abroad. We just heard the Spanish Prime Minister voicing support for the anti-overhaul protests. How unusual is it for a foreign dignitary to give this public support? It's pretty frowned upon to have foreign entities sort of intervene in internal politics.
To be fair, he did speak up as in his capacity in the Socialist International and not as representing the Spanish state. Although, he is still the Prime Minister. But it's not a statement by the Spanish Prime Minister. It's a statement by the head of the Socialist International, which clearly is on the side of its sister parties in Israel, which are the Labour Party and Meretz.
Right.
So, but he's not the first foreign leader to speak up. There was President Biden, Secretary Blinken, President Macron, Chancellor Scholz. The list is becoming long. It's not as unusual as people think, and it's not exactly pressure. I mean, he can't exert any pressure. He doesn't have any say, any clout in this, but he can, as a friend, as an ally. And these expressions came only from countries that are considered to be allies of Israel. He may express concern about things that might impact the sort of relationship that we have. And I remind you what kind of pressure the EU has put on a sister country like Hungary. Is that foreign intervention? In a sense it is. But if you want to be part of an alliance, then you have to respect the foundations of this alliance. And the foundation of our alliance with these democratic powers is based on two things. It's common interests, but it's also shared values. And if they feel, these people feel, that the shared values are being eroded, then they will speak up.
And Ambassador, briefly, at the end of the month, if no compromise is reached, Netanyahu is going to have a tough choice to make. What do you predict will happen?
I think he'll extend the time that he will try to extend the time. I don't think he wants a showdown. But I don't think he can reach a compromise right now.
We'll have to see how all this plays out. It's certainly going to be a tense month ahead. Ambassador, always a pleasure having you here in studio.